Welcome once again to the WDW Fan Zone Show. This is our episode number 579 for April 21st, 2026. And we are going to talk tonight about pros and cons, at least from our perspective, of table service dining at Walt Disney World. And we'll see what kind of reactions we get from our host here tonight. And we are a little bit limited on our host tonight. It's just the three of us, and we're going to go around and just introduce ourselves again real quickly. We are going to not have a news update tonight. We had a late cancellation from our news correspondent. Jess unfortunately could be not be with us tonight. And we are also missing Lottie tonight, and we are missing Darlene. But we've got Kurt and Shannon and myself, John. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go ladies second tonight, and I'm gonna jump over to Kurt. Poor Kurt. He has to wait too often. So
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. What can I say?
well, if you want to say you're the bride tonight, I guess that's how
Oh
we're gonna
God,
start out. So what
the
what
father of the bride. I got two sons.
how are you doing this week? And anything exciting planned? Or I know you've got plans for later in the year, but
Yeah, we got not a lot of excitement going on right now. Last week, I don't know if you guys saw, Rockford got hit hard with a F3 tornado. Those storm
oh,
chasers were going like right through it. So yeah, I was up that way over the weekend. I didn't see a lot of damage done. I must not have made it to where that I'll hit. Where there's a lot of flooding that was going on last week. So fun,
Hmm,
fun, fun. At least we're up to 72 right now and it's dry.
it's
okay,
nice.
much better than tornadoes. I'm on
Yeah.
my way to Kansas City in a couple of weeks, and I am hoping that it's not that they're not true to their springtime tornado activity, but we'll see.
We expect live updates if there's a tornado from the man on the ground, John.
I don't want to be the one taking video, that's for sure. Hey, so thank you, Kurt. Shannon, welcome
Um,
back again this week. How are you doing?
Good. It was warm last week, hot actually. Sat on a patio and had dinner Saturday night, and then turned the heat back on Sunday evening. So we're back into the, 40s and 50s.
Well,
Uh,
in mid-20s last night with a hard
how's that
freeze.
help? Yeah, my plants are inside and they're dying. I didn't get them in the ground, which I guess is a good thing. I didn't get them in the ground because I can bring them in at night now.
I don't know how you go from earliest 90-degree temperature in the
Hmm.
year to 25, 26 degrees. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I am freshly back from Walt Disney World. I'm not going to be able to share much about my trip tonight. Maybe we'll see next week. Bring some updates on some of the things that I saw. I did learn a couple of interesting things on this last trip. So again, maybe next week, and maybe we'll have more of our hosts with us here next week as well. So I'm actually just off the plane yesterday, so I'm still recovering from my trip. But we are going to talk about something. I'm trying to think here. I think this is something that I did not partake of on this past trip, and that is table service dining. And so wanted to share some pros and cons. I know that I personally have to make some decisions about, do we do table service, and if so what, or do we not do table service. But what I wanted to get some feedback from all of us here tonight is, what are the things that you think are pros about using table service dining, and what do you think some of the trade-offs are with that too? So I think we'll start off with a pro from everybody. So starting off with you, Kurt, what's a pro that you have for experiencing and getting involved with table service dining down at Walt Disney World?
Well, the number one thing that we find that's refreshing at a table service restaurant is getting out of the sun.
Oh, okay.
Or if you're there in the wintertime, getting out of the cold.
Cold.
But usually it's getting out of the heat to an air conditioned area to sit down and relax to eat. Because a lot of times with quick service restaurants, your dining is still done outside. While it's underneath an umbrella, it's still a lot of that eating is outside.
That's very fair, and you know what? That's just like sometimes we will look for shows, indoor shows when it's either too hot or
Mhm.
too cold. I agree with you when it comes to dining and getting a chance to stay out of that for a little while. Okay. How about you, Shannon? What do you have as a pro for experiencing table service dining?
I'd say it depends on whether, like, it depends on which dining experience you choose, but sometimes it's extending the story or extending the experience. You know, you've got, like, you go to the park for the day and you've got your storybook, but this is like the prequel, the sequel, the prologue. Like, you get extra pieces and extra storylines to follow on your trip. So it just kind of extends that experience into more than just the park for the day.
Right. Some more depth, and it all kind of fits together. The theming of the park itself, and the lands, and the attractions, and then the food to go along with it. Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the things, and this is a little bit related to that, but it to me, it also gives you a chance to have different kinds of experiences. So you can have experiences with attractions and with shows and with character meet and greets, but there are dining experiences that are something altogether different too. So, for instance, so one thing I can share from this past trip, we got to go to the tea experience at the Grand
Mhm.
Floridian, and it's themed around the Alice in Wonderland. And it's a small space in the Grand Floridian at the Garden View Lounge. It's got a nice view out into the courtyard there and lets the sun in, but it has its own theming. It was quiet and quaint, but it's a whole different experience. So somebody brings different teas to you and offers you. We actually got to smell the scent of the different teas. So they had 8 different hot teas that you could choose from, and you could pick more than one. And then they bring out a multi-layer tray of some, more, I don't want to say savory foods, but sandwiches and things like that, as well as desserts. But it was a whole experience.
Mhm.
And you can go on attractions, you can go to the shows, and the more you go to Disney World, you start to see, you experience some of the same things over and over again. But it was nice to have a whole different kind of experience, something we had never done before. So it's something over and above what the rush and the grind of just going to the attractions all the time. So that's a pro for me. Let's dip down into the cons and then come back again for some pros, because I'm assuming you've got a number of them too, but I've got a number of each. So Kurt, what do you have as a trade-off or a con for table service dining?
As great as it is to get out of that heat, you're really dipping into your tour time.
Mhm.
So the day we went to Epcot on this last trip, by the time we walked all the way back there, ate, and worked our way back all the way up to the front, it was a 3 hour tour. I mean, we were on Gilligan's Isle. It really was a 3 hour tour. And we were trying to figure out, how do we miss so many things? We just missed stuff. And part of that was 3 hours of our tour time was spent either getting to or during eating. There's a couple attractions that we wanted to go on. They were temporarily not, we weren't temporarily able to go on them because they were closed.
Right.
And that was it. By then you're forgetting about it. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, we didn't make it back over there because we tried, but we couldn't stay and wait around because we had to start walking back for
Yeah.
food. So
Yeah.
that's the downfall, is the whole.
Well, yeah, and if you
That's
did that every day, if you went to
right.
so if you had the dining plan, you've got that
Right.
pressure of using those dining credits, table service dining credits, and that takes time away from
Yeah.
every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I remember when my kids were younger, we'd want to go and tour something, and we're like, we got to go. We got to go. We got to get back there. It's going to take us 30 minutes to walk back there. You got to get around the 20 or 30 minutes. We got to get there now.
Well,
Can't
and
be late.
it might take transportation. So it could be in a
Right.
different park. It could be in a resort.
Mhm.
So, and
Yep.
we know, depending on where you're going and how you're going, transportation can sometimes takes 45 minutes to an hour.
Just to show up to start to take you there.
Yeah. And then if you want to go back to what you were doing for touring, then, it takes that much more, double it
Exactly.
maybe. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. That was actually the first thing on my list. But Shannon, what do you have for a con or a trade-off?
Cost. And there was the moment where we had gone to Disney World. Both my kids were children. And then another time we come back, they are no longer children. Disney does not consider your children to be children once they're past like 9. So now I'm paying for 4 adult meals for a character dining experience. The first one we went to was once the kids were adults, was storybook dining. That's $60 a person. We paid probably about $300 with tip and tax for that dinner. That one hurt quite a bit because I wasn't really budgeting. I was thinking children. And then when we got there, well, how old are your children? Oh, okay. They'll be choosing an adult. And I'm like, well, they just want the kids meal. Oh no, they're adults. So
they even called them children. How
Yes.
old are your children?
Yes.
Right. So you ordered them a beer because they're adults.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you just ordered them a beer, and they're starting their military training next month, right?
Yeah. That's what it
Because
felt
they're
like.
adults. God,
But
You're
so yeah,
kidding.
that was a wonderful experience. It was one and done. However, we budget very strictly, and we go out to eat once a month at home, and we do one casual dining at home a month. So we'll do pizza one night, and then another night we'll actually go out to eat, and that is it. We save our going out to eat money for vacations so that when we do go on vacation, we have extra money set aside for that. We don't feel like we can splurge a bit. So it just depends on how you budget, but $300 for one meal times how long your trip is. We're very cognizant now of we like character meals, but we do choose them wisely. And we tend to choose restaurants where you can just order off the menu a la carte. It's you save a lot more money.
Yeah. So, I mean, you made an important point there. The larger your family, the more that cost expands.
Yeah.
It's not.
I was going to say a party of 6 at Via Napoli when you get the salad, and you all have your drinks, and now you order a couple pizzas. $250 later, you're like, oh, this isn't Domino's. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, so I had cost on mine too, and one of the things that has kind of changed over time. There are more and more restaurants at Walt Disney World that are fixed price, and so you were talking about storybook dining. That's fixed price, and it seems like that's kind of the trend when they open up these new nice themed restaurants, that they are that fixed price, which comes with a higher cost. The other thing that I've noticed that seems to be a trend, it used to be that lunch was a lesser price than dinner. A lot of the restaurants now, the lunch price and the dinner price are exactly the same.
As is the menu.
To add on to that fixed price, you're getting a multiple course meal. You've got to be hungry.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Right. In the middle of the day when you're hot. Yeah. Middle of the day, you're hot, and the last thing you want to do is bulk up with tons of food.
Because those a la carte restaurants, sometimes we'll just order 2-3 meals or an appetizer and 2 meals and a dessert, and that's all we need to eat.
Yeah.
Right.
My first con is around flexibility, and if your schedule changes or something comes up, there is a cancellation policy, and if you cancel early enough, no big deal. But if you go to cancel 2 hours before your dinner, they won't let you do it in the app. And in fact, this actually happened to us on this last trip. So we were staying at Old Key West, and we were going to meet up with some friends, and they were going to come over to Olivia's, which is this table service dining at Old Key West, and we were going to get together and have dinner. Well, my wife got a cold, and earlier in the day she was kind of iffy. Well, then when it came time, we're getting closer to dinner, she said, "I'm not going to make it." So first I thought, okay, well, it'll just be the three of us, me and the two friends, and I'll share with you who they were after the fact. But when I contacted the friend, well, their wife just got home from work and their knees were really giving them a lot of problem from coming home from work. So with my wife not being able to go, they said, well, we're going to cancel too. Well, so all of a sudden I have to cancel. I went into the app to try to do it. It didn't give me the option to do it. So I started contacting their customer service or the guest relations through the app, through the chat. And they started saying, well, we can cancel, but there's no guarantee that you're not going to have to pay for it. And so I said, this is for the birds. I dropped the chat and I went right up to the restaurant. And thankfully, well, and get to make it even more challenging, the restaurant didn't open till 5.
Oh.
Our reservation was at 5 o'clock. So I had to go into the lobby and get somebody from the lobby. They went into the restaurant through the closed door to talk to somebody. And they checked to see where we were staying. We were staying there at Old Key West. They found our room, what room we were staying, who we were. And they came back and said, it's okay. We canceled it. You don't have to worry about paying. But that was a lot of hassle to do all of that. And I wasn't quite sure, was I going to have to pay for the meal? So that flexibility and changes in your plans are one of the things you have to weigh against, the experience. And that was something completely unexpected. It wasn't because, okay, we just don't feel like going all of a sudden. It was beyond our control. So flexibility and changes in schedule are one of the things that you have to pay attention to too. Okay, well, let's go back to more on the positive side. Kurt, what's another pro you have?
I don't know if you guys know about this, but this summer there are several dining options that if you are a pass holder, you actually get 40% off.
Right.
In general, if you're a pass holder or a DVC member, you can normally get at least 10, if not 20% off at several of the table service restaurants. So there are possible discounts at many of the restaurants. If you are, always ask. If you have a pass holder or DVC, ask. Do you guys give a discount? 40%, we're going to Whispering Canyon Cafe.
Yeah.
That's a decent. I mean, I don't want to pay $45 for a meal. Dropping it down to $29, not too bad. Even then, it's pricey. Which is a lot of fun.
Right. But that's interesting. It's an interesting dichotomy. So I said we were at Old Key West, and we did some counter service mobile ordering from their counter services called Goods to Go. And there's no discount there. But we did mobile ordering from Olivia's. So Olivia's has takeout at the same place. You can pick it up at the same place. And it automatically put the 10% discount when we ordered. So that night that we couldn't go eat there, my wife just had she had some leftovers from, I forget where it was, but she had something very simple. So I went and ordered something for myself. I'm sorry, she did takeout from Goods. Well, I took takeout from Olivia's, got it at the same place. It was a little more expensive maybe, but I got 10% off automatically because it was a table service restaurant that I did it to go for. So, yeah. So so hopefully this summer we get a chance. I'll have to take a look at what those restaurants are then, Kurt, because I did see the advertisement for some restaurants for 40%, which is no small thing. 40%
as long as you're a pass holder. Yeah. Yeah. I know one of them was Beer Garden.
Okay.
We passed on that. The other one was what's over at the Living Seas. It might have been that one.
Oh, Coral Reef.
Coral Reef. It might have been Coral Reef. I don't remember. We went through a couple of them. We're like, ooh, Whispering Canyon Cafe. Let's get some fries and ask for ketchup.
And straws.
And straws. Yeah, can I have a straw? Yeah. And can I have a refill? They'll bring me back a pitcher.
Cool.
So.
Cool. Okay. Shannon, what's another pro that you have?
I while you do get a lot of family time on your vacations, you're kind of sometimes hustling and rushing and come on, chop chop, let's go. So when you go into the restaurants and you sit down, not only do you get to like rest your legs and move slower because you're at a fast pace a lot of times on these trips, you get to slow down, sit down, take time to talk to each other, have some nice family bonding time. So I do like the slow down piece of it.
Wait, you talk to your kids?
We're getting to that age where we're getting to the other side.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. One of the things that I thought of that it's just different. So table service dining is where you have the option for buffets. So whether it's Boma or Tusker House, we don't have Trails End anymore, but there is not such a thing as a counter service buffet, at least not that I can think of. So if you like buffets, if you like to have the wide variety and you get to pick from a lot of different things what you want, and potentially a ton of food if you want that, buffets, your option for buffets are table service. So
do we know if we're getting Trails End back?
I have not heard recently,
because I know it was closed for refurbishment, but then that was it.
Yeah.
So
I thought they might have had some minimized experience, but I'm not clear on that, so I'm not going to say.
I haven't been over there in a long time.
I'm sure that some of our listeners know better than we do right now, but I haven't been in at least 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, which, well, you couldn't have been there in the past 6 years anyway. Right. Okay. Well, then I'm sorry. So Shannon, do you have another?
That was.
Well, that was
no,
Shannon.
that was you. Shannon went and then. Oh, you just talked buffets. Was that you?
Yeah, that was me. Okay. So I was right. We are going back to Kurt and Cons again.
Cons. I know someone in this group right now loves going to a certain restaurant for the theming because he loves to watch the old movies and sit inside of a car. But occasionally when you're going there, you have to realize that the meal isn't much better than a quick service meal. So there are occasions where you're basically going in for the ambiance, because the ambiance is 100 times better. Shannon stole that from me right away. The theming and the ambiance of a table service restaurant, sometimes you're paying for that. Mm-hmm. And in this case, you are. So because the meal itself is just a cheeseburger, fries, you're basically just going to see a sci-fi dine-in movie.
Yeah, well, so some locations, you're expending the time, but not getting different food than you might get at a counter service.
At a counter service, that's my point. You're getting burgers and fries. You're not ordering a steak. You're not getting something that's seafood related very often. If it is, it's a fish sandwich or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and then you're not talking to the kids, Shannon, because they're sitting in front of you watching the movie.
Exactly.
Well, so do you ever do that, Shannon, on purpose?
No, because I want to talk to them. They don't want to talk to me. So they enjoy that restaurant immensely.
You don't want to give them what they like too much. Okay.
No. Paid for the trip. They can't win everything.
That's right.
Right.
How about another con from you, Shannon?
We don't eat a lot of food. We eat, we're just not overeaters. We don't tend to order appetizers and or dessert. We just eat a meal, and sometimes we just share a meal if we want to have an appetizer. So a lot of times the table service dining makes me feel really sick because I end up overeating because I paid $300 and I'm going to eat everything that was on that plate. But my body is like, you don't normally eat like this. So you have to find that balance of like committing to, eating that many calories. And then, beforehand, are you going to not eat a lot up till then? So you're empty. And then afterwards, you have to be able to walk it off, and you can't get on, Tron right afterwards because you're gonna be sick. So, yeah.
Yeah, so not only investing the time to go to the meal, but then taking time potentially out of your touring because you don't feel up to certain attractions. Yeah. I'm one of the things that I thought about was depending on the size of your family or group, it can be tougher to satisfy everybody. So
Mhm.
if you go to a table service, you need to find a table service, and a lot of the table service restaurants have some variety, but it's not the same as being able to split up and go different directions. So if you're doing counter service, you can go to lots of different counter services in the same park and break your party down, a couple of different ways if you've got a larger party, which also it can be challenging to schedule the table service if you've got larger groups. So finding, if you've got 8 people, either because you got friends or extended family, whatever, it can be hard to get those reservations at table service, as well as, is it the table service everybody's going to want to go to anyway? And if you're in a park, you don't have as many choices. Are people going to go off to different parks or to another resort? That's just not very, it's not very logistically feasible. Whereas if you're doing counter service, you've got some more options to do that when you've got those bigger groups, and you can, especially if you're talking about having to do, you've got to have 2 or 3 meals a day for every day you're there. So the more that you're doing the table service, the more challenging I think it is for satisfying everybody, as well as doing the planning and the scheduling for everybody. Okay, so let's go back to another pro here or two. Kurt, what do you have for another pro?
I don't think we talked about the quality of the food yet, did we?
We have not.
Okay, well then that's a good time to talk about it now then. Because when was the last time you were actually able to get, say, a steak sandwich, steak in general, at a quick service restaurant, anything like that? They just don't have it. So, or shrimp, or I guess they do have. Sometimes they might have like a shrimp taco or something for you, but just what you're getting, it's much different. Like Shanna, you talked about a large. There's more food there available. That, like you, half the time. I mean, we were on the dining plan. There were times my son was getting a bowl of Cheerios because they're like, you got to eat something. Yeah. And he's like, I'm hot, I'm tired, I don't want to eat. I just have no appetite. So, but that's one of the downfalls of it. But the pro is, I love a good meatloaf, and you cannot get a good meatloaf anywhere but a table service restaurant.
Fair enough. Yeah, quality I think is, and that's the one thing. Disney has a lot of table service dining, and they have some that you mentioned may not be the best, but they've got a ton of high quality chefs and service to go along with it. Okay, Shannon, another pro from you.
This is a minor pro. I only used it once or twice, but some of the dining packages that if you wanted a specific spot in line for or you wanted to get close seats for the concert or for the candlelight processional or fireworks, you do have the opportunity to have that added benefit if you pick one of the dining packages that's usually a table service restaurant.
Sure.
I have to really want that concert seat though.
Yeah, we've talked about.
A lot of times it forces you into the fixed price menus. It's not normally an a la carte menu you get to choose from. So
right.
You used to You used to be able to get a Fantasmic at. I just was thinking of it. What is the Italian restaurant that's no longer the Italian
Mm.
restaurant because they shut it down?
Mama Melrose.
Mama Melrose's. I believe it was $30 or $35 for that meal.
Mhm.
Wow.
That might have been a few years ago, like 19,
Yeah,
18.
just a
But
few.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically, you're only paying $10 extra for the seat. I don't know
Right.
how much those are now. I think they're closer to like $75.
Yeah.
Same meal.
I think we paid about $200 for 2 years ago when we did one of those, and it was like was the Rose and Crown, so it wasn't like
Right,
a high end meal. It was just normal food.
right.
So
Bangers and mash.
Oh, we got great seats for boys to men. So
I have one that's I, I think it actually could go two different ways, but so with some of the table service dining in some of the parks, you can actually get into the park earlier than when the park opens.
yeah,
So, so for instance, things like Crystal Palace might open
Yep.
at 8 o'clock, and the park itself doesn't open till 9. So you can walk through the park sometimes without having other people in your way. It's a little more peaceful. And maybe take some pictures. Now, the thing you have to be careful about with that though too is depending on when your time is, the hordes might come into the park before you're done eating. So you
Correct.
might come out of the restaurant and now the parks are quite a bit more full.
right.
The same thing can be true with the end of the day. So you might be able to get a time in a restaurant that's close to park closing, and then the park closes before you come out, and maybe things have quieted down a little bit too till you get
We
out.
tend to do that over in Pandora.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
We had oh gosh, what's it called? The one
Tiffin?
no, the one in Pandora.
You talk about
Satu'li Cantina.
Yeah.
well, yeah,
We'll
that's
go there right before the park closes. That way you can stay a little longer. It's a little get better pictures on the way out.
yeah. So do a mobile order to pick up close to the time that the park's going to close. Yeah.
Yeah. Not that that's table service, but
No, but the same concept, sure.
that is great quick service.
I was going to
Yeah.
say I would take that quick service over some of the
Yes.
over some of the table service. To be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm starting to run out of cons, but let's see if we can get through one more round of cons here, Kurt.
When was the last time you just walked up and tried to get a group of 4 or 5 into a restaurant? You can't. You have to have a reservation. Usually, you're checking about, 90 days out you're able to do? No, we got ours about 40 days out. We didn't.
60.
Is it 60 days now?
Yeah.
You're right, 60 days.
Yep.
So we were lucky. We got ours about 40 days out, 45 days out, I think it was. We were surprised we got it. So, and that was when we found out we could get the discount. So we're like, oh, let's give it a win. We'll try for this date at this time and see if it works. Hey, it's open. Quick, someone book it.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, I mean, I'll teach you a secret. The day before it is that you've got to, if you're looking for a reservation somewhere on like a Sunday, I've booked Saturday morning while I was on the flight, and they're like, you need to turn your phone off, and booking it at the last second as they were closing the door.
Yeah.
Going, I need this reservation. It was for Beast Castle back when they used to do, you had to have reservations, but it's for a quick service for lunch, which was another con. But yeah, the reservation system there, we got it 24 hours ahead of time because someone canceled. It used to be a 24-hour cancellation.
Right.
So you might get lucky that way, but that doesn't always happen.
Well, and it's a hassle.
Major.
It's a hassle to try to be there 60 days, depending on the restaurant. If you need to, 60 days ahead of time at 7 a.m. And get this
Well, and it's one
one.
thing if you've gone to Disney before, or you're on back, but if you think this is your one trip or it'll be a couple years, like you want that darn Topolino Terrace reservation. Like you have to have it. So it's very
Yeah.
stressful.
Cinderella's royal table for your princess while she's still a princess.
Yeah.
Because the next time you come down 5 years from now, it's just going to be like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we eating here?
Do you have any more cons, Shannon?
No, I had mine was more like a tip. I can give a tip, but it's not a con. So I'm out of cons.
Okay. I have one more to share here, and it's kind of a weird one, but it's something that we've run into a lot, and it ties into some of the things we were talking about before, where table service dining can be a lot of food, and we have run into having leftovers, and a lot of times you don't have any place to take them. So if you're staying at a DVC resort, and now there are more of the deluxe and also the some of the places like Coronado Springs or Caribbean Beach,
for moderate resorts.
Moderate resorts will have refrigerators, but you also need a microwave or something to heat it up.
Right.
So those leftovers can be a challenge sometimes, and you don't want to waste the food.
And then you got to right back to your hotel room. You can't carry them around the park.
Well, right. You don't want to have to carry it around. So sometimes you end up wasting food, which you talk about the price you pay. So you don't like the waste of food because you don't like wasting, but you also don't like to waste money if you get food you don't eat at all. So leftovers is one of the things that we've run into challenges with. Now, this past trip, staying at Old Key West, we did take some leftovers back to the room, put them in the refrigerator, but those leftovers came from the resort. So we were up at Olivia's or Goods to Go, so we were able to more easily get them back to the resort, and we did end up eating them later. But that's not always the case, and it always drives me crazy to have to go to a table service dining and say, sorry, I can't take that, but I can't eat it either. Yeah. Okay. Gonna do.
I actually have two more.
You have two more cons. Well, I'll tell you what.
I have one that goes either way, and I have one major con.
Oh.
Okay, well, give us your major con.
If you have a dietary restriction of some kind, there are some restaurants that you're going to for the rest of the family that you just don't have choices for. Case in point,
you mean like when your family wants to go to Flying Fish?
Flying Fish, or over here at Coral Reef Cafe. My two choices. I'm allergic to seafood. They don't want me going to anaphylactic shock. Well, maybe they do. They'll feed me to the sharks. I don't know. But my two choices.
See what happens.
Yeah, toss them in. See if it makes somebody good. Mojo Chicken. I don't know if I want that. And guava braised short ribs are my only two options. That's it. So there's nothing. I guess I could go down here. Hang on. Where's the dessert? I might be able to just eat dessert that day. Just pineapple coconut bread pudding, key lime pie, chocolate mousse bar. I'll just have those three. They cost the same amount. Actually, it's less expensive. Dietary restrictions are sometimes. There's always a dietary menu, but you might not like what's on it.
Okay, Kurt, one last pro from you.
All right. If you're going with kids, this is a pro. If you're just going for the buffet, it's a con. Buffet meals, you're paying the extra money 9 times out of 10 at these restaurants because it's a character meal. So if you want a buffet, usually you're going to see characters with it. The other options are like the what they have at Whispering Canyon Cafe, where it's literally like it's a platter. It's a never-ending platter. So you have to like what's coming in on the platter. Otherwise, if you want a full-blown buffet, you better like characters and screaming kids.
Okay. Well, I can't argue with that one. Uh, Shannon, what's one last pro for you?
Um, like you said, up until 2 hours before, you can cancel your reservation. So I always, even if I don't get necessarily the perfect time that I want for something, like say I wanted Tusker House at 6:30. Well, so does everyone else. So I go on to book. As I'm booking at the moment I can book, I'm only getting 4:30 or whatever. I book it, and then that day I watch it, and people drop. You tend to be able to get close to the time that you want. Terrace for breakfast that. So, well, maybe the day before, the people the day before, but when it comes to like dinner time things, a lot of times you're kind of able to keep bumping the time, finding the reservations, and getting that one you want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like Kurt said before, getting things, just whoop,
Nope.
a little
She's
blip
back.
there. Little blip. If you look at the right time, close to it the day of, you can pick those things up. So it's not always, a dead end, but it can be a challenge sometimes. Okay, so what's the last one? So something that I think from an experience perspective, especially for guests that are able to get to Walt Disney World more frequently, it's nice to have something different to do.
Mhm.
And so there's so many table service restaurants available within the parks, all the different resorts. So we like to schedule something different, like we did with the tea experience this last time. But some restaurant we haven't been to in a long time, or maybe we've never been to, and it's nice to have uh, something to differentiate this trip from other trips, to have
Yeah.
those different things to do. So that's
Kind of
one of the,
remember that trip when we went to Topolino's Terrace for breakfast. You can remember that trip because it was
yeah,
not the
yeah,
same thing.
yeah. If you have a good experience, it goes a long way, and
Mhm.
it's a different kind of experience from the going to the parks and doing those kinds of things. So um, one of the things that or one thing I want to touch on before we close up here, just to see what ideas you have, and I'm going to throw one out here just to kind of prime it a little bit. And so we've talked about how there are some trade-offs with table service, but I also think that there are some options that can help with some of those trade-offs. So I'm gonna I'm gonna throw one out here. So we talked about the quality of food and the variety, but if you don't want to take the time, to go to a table service restaurant, you don't want to spend as much money, at a table service restaurant. One of the other options I think that you could substitute without doing counter service, the standard counter service, is at the Epcot festivals. We know that they have all of those food kiosks. They have a wide variety of food, but you can get some really good stuff for much more reasonable prices, like $6, $7, $8, and even things you can share sometimes. And we just had some down here at the Flower and Garden Festival. So we actually went to a couple of booths, and what we spent for dinner was probably $24 for the two of us.
Mhm.
And that included our quote entree and something for dessert. And we got to split a couple of different things. So the Epcot festivals, I think, it's somewhere in between. It's an option to get some good food without taking all the time and that without all the cost. Now, one of the challenges there is it can be hard to sit down, period. So you have to,
Mm.
go to a park bench or sit on or not sit, but stand at one of the tables.
Garbage
Now
can.
what we did this time that worked out, especially because it was it was like 90 degrees. We got some things from a couple of booths that were close to the Odyssey restaurant. So we picked them up. One was in front of Test Track, and one was over near the one gift shop at the entrance to World Showcase. And we went into the Odyssey. They had tables, chairs, air conditioning, and we sat there and enjoyed it but without having to take a lot of time and without the cost. So, what do you guys have any? I have a couple of others, but do you guys have any ideas on what you could do to avoid some of the challenges with table service, but get something close to a table service as far as the food?
You actually mentioned it. Just
What's that?
order from the table service restaurant.
Yep.
So you can order a meal, and just by ordering that meal, you don't have to worry about the drink, and honestly, you don't have to worry about a tip, which is saving you substantial amount right there.
Yep. Yeah,
So, and
Olivia,
you're
sure.
getting that same quality food. So,
Okay. Shannon, I know that I'm throwing this out there, but any ideas that you have that you can kind of avoid some of the trade-offs with the table service?
Something we've done is we've had where we'll kind of pick a day that's not a day we're running around doing rides, sort of a walk around, relaxing day. And like once we went to Epcot. Oh, am I back?
Yeah.
Once we went to Epcot and it was a slow day. It was like a weird time of day where people don't normally eat. Might have been like 1:30, 2 o'clock. And like we went to Morocco, popped into the cafe there and grabbed the bread service and had that. Then we went over to Italy and we had a glass of wine and we split dessert.
Okay.
So like we kind of were able to pop around. We still got to sit because we were kind of finding places that had seats. We've also done where we'll go to a lounge and have a drink. So you can kind of sit down, and then we go to a quick service to eat. So we're kind of finding that balance of like picking and choosing exactly what we want.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about lounges, so you can get some of the same food at some of the lounges that you could get in the restaurant, like the Nomad Lounge that Lottie likes so much, instead of sit down at Tiffin's. And you're still sitting down, but you can. It can be easier to get into the lounge than to make a reservation for.
Yeah, we've done walk up at Nomad Lounge, like a 10-minute wait or something. Again, if you don't pick 6:30 night on a Saturday or something. Well, I guess it doesn't matter what day of the week in Disney World.
Right. Brown Derby Lounge is another example. Space 220 has a lounge, but I don't know. I don't know how easy that is to get in versus the restaurant itself. But those lounges.
Well, and when you're doing that, that's the only way you can order things a la carte. At Space 220 is by sitting at the bar.
Yeah. So definitely some options. So, well, I think we've talked about an awful lot today here. So I'm going to say that we are thankful for our listeners, or those of you who are watching us. As a reminder, you can watch us on YouTube, watch our podcast on YouTube. You can listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts and iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and TuneIn Podcasts. You can connect with us on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. And you can also catch up with or find out some more about us on our website at wdwfanzoneshow.com. So for our new listeners, thanks for joining us. For our repeat listeners, thanks for coming back. We hope you share us with your friends and neighbors, and we hope to see you again next week. So let's close it out for now.
I'm going to switch up my closing outline to have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, everyone.
Woohoo!
Good night, everybody.
I know that not everybody is a fan of this restaurant on the square in Magic Kingdom, Tony's Town Square. But in honor of Tony's Town Square, I'm just going to close with, when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. And so that's the end of it for us on um, this Bella Nota, which is when we're recording. And again, we hope to see you all again sometime soon. See y'all.